All right, your new moon reading for the new moon in Libra coming up right after this. Good evening, this is Lucky Lynx. This is the second time I'm doing this today. I've been really busy with clients, and I've been really busy gearing up to do cosmology, Tibetan cosmology study, and I haven't had a chance to really shoot the new moon video. The new moon is today, and it is in Libra, and I shot it once today. I was in a public place. I took advantage of the time that I had in a public place, and the background was so loud that I finally just had scrapped the whole thing. And that was on 7 fears and the fears that are holding people back, and there was a lot of information in it, but it just didn't work out. So I took that as a sign that that wasn't the right subject to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the new moon in Libra. We're going to do relationship readings, and I'm going to use Tibetan divination for that. So pick a number from 1 to 5, and then I throw 3 dice for each, and then I interpret for those of you who picked this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. There aren't any piles. 1 through 5. And then these are in relation to relationships. So what do you need to know for your relationships right now for this cycle of the new moon in Libra? Libra usually governs relationships. So these could be business relationships, romantic relationships, relationships with friends, relationships with siblings, ruled by Venus, the planet of love, the planet of luck, prosperity. I think more so than Jupiter. I usually see Jupiter about expansion and growth. Venus, gambling, luck, prosperity. We're going to look at also, it could indicate lawsuits, legal affairs, and so they'd be relationships with the law, relationships with each other in terms of romantic relationships, friendships, family relationships, or business relationships. So they go partnerships of any kind, okay? So 1 through 5, pick 1 through 5, and then we're going to start here. Number 1. For those of you who picked number 1, I do 1 for each. Each one of these is 6 colors. We've got white, red, black, blue, green, and yellow. This is based on Tibetan color doctrine. Okay, so for those of you who picked number 1, relationship reading, we've got green, red, yellow. Okay, so green, red, yellow. Okay, so this is for those of you who picked number 1. This is about going out and finding new relationships or connecting in new relationships. The environment is right at this time for change. So if you're looking for change in a relationship, if you're looking to get out there and get a new relationship, if you're looking out to make new connections with people, that this cycle favors that for you guys. Change is at hand. You've been talking about wanting to meet new people, or you've been talking about wanting a change, and in the back of your mind there is a desire for greater stability in your relationships, and in order to get that, you have to make a change. So my question for you guys is, what are you willing to give, and what are you willing to change in this cycle to get more fulfilling relationships? Now that can have to do with, for those of you who are business relationships, what I see here specifically is a prosperous new relationship coming into being. Give it a while, but it looks like a smooth creative cycle for that. Okay, so cycles of relationships that bring wealth are really good in this particular combination of colors, all right? So, but be willing to make a change, be willing to be ambitious, be willing to go out there and make connections, be willing to be social, and be willing to For those of you who are in relationships that aren't working and want a more fulfilling relationship, this is a cycle that demands that you make the change, and you be willing to trade one thing for another. So what are you willing to trade? What are you willing to change in that fair? Okay. So then, for those of you who picked number 2, I just dropped one of the dice. Okay. For those of you who picked number 2, we got red, black, red. Okay. This has to do with specifically about wishes that have not come to fruition. So wishing for something, wanting something, this is a very uncomfortable place to be. This is the, for those of you who picked number 2, this is about relationships that haven't coming into being. So not feeling like you've gotten what you wanted, not feeling that you got your soulmate, not feeling that you're getting the relationship you want. This is about longing. This is about a feeling of not getting what you want, or feeling that what you want is not there. You're invoking, you're wishing, but something is not lining up. So in those cases, when I see that happening, I ask, well, what is it that the person is doing that is not letting it line up for them? It could be that you're bouncing around in your desires, that you're not being specific and not sticking to what it is that you want, not knowing what you want, letting your heart and your desires bounce all over the place, and not being solid in what you want. That's one thing. Secondly, this could be about people who are not being faithful. First of all, not being faithful to themselves, and then the relationship becomes unsatisfying because either the other person is not being faithful or they are not being faithful. So the question is, how can you be faithful to yourself first, and honest and true to yourself? Also, this has to do with caretaker relationships, okay? So in this particular combination, the person has been taking on or caring for other people and then resenting the other people for having to care for them. So if you're really not genuinely wanting to care for the people, then don't. But don't care for the person and then expect them to give something to you that they're not giving back. Because what's happening is it's turning into a curse, either from you or for them or for both. So how can you be genuine and straightforward and honest in your relationships? If you care for someone and you give for someone, or you're caretaking someone, do it because you genuinely want to do it, not because you're expecting something in return. In terms of business relationships, this one feels like a partnership that you thought you were going to have is going to fall off. And in terms of sibling relationships, this one specifically is a long time, it feels like a long time family blot, not coming together. The strife between family members is not during this cycle going to heal. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3, those of you who picked number 3. 5. Okay, so we got white, green, and black. Okay, so there is a restlessness coming in this particular one. This one is tinged with sexual energy, and this has to do with specifically sexual relationships during this time. Be very, very careful during this time. I don't like the black here. This particular restless energy is going to result in something that you get something that you didn't necessarily want. So if you find yourself binding to a sexual relationship and thinking it's going to develop further, you may find in the long run that it was just an illusion, that it was just your restlessness, that you were grabbing to something that didn't really have a strong foundation, and it's not turning out what you wanted it to be. That's A. B, watch for the people in your life, and I'm not trying to cause paranoia here, but if you're concerned about the faithfulness of another person, the question that you have to ask yourself this cycle is why? Why are you concerned about their faithfulness? Are you not listening to what you believe is going on? And if you're doubting another person, ask yourself why. Why are you in a relationship with a person that you're doubting? And what is the core of that? Also means that it may be a time where simply you're having physical experiences with people, and it's not really about bonding deeply and emotionally. And also, there is a chance to go out and meet a lot of new people in this particular cycle. The black is what I'm concerned about, though, because I'm going to say keep your head during this time and don't be silly. Don't let your appetites run away with you, because you may find yourself in a situation where you either get some kind of physical ailment that from this behavior that you did not want, did not expect, or something will come of the sexual relationship that you didn't intend and that binds you to it. Or on the opposite side, if you think this is going to last simply because it was intensely sexual, you may find yourself clinging to nothing more than smoke. Okay? So that was 3, right? That was number 3? Yeah, that was number 3. Okay, so we got 4 here. For those of you who picked number 4, we got 1, 2, and 3. All right, so this one is restlessness tinged by a great deal of desire also. So this actually feels like it's about rekindling the sexual aspect of a relationship that you're not feeling, that has kind of been you've not been feeling it. So this is about rekindling that. There is a great potential here then in this particular situation to have a more stable partnership, should you choose, if you connect to the compassionate or the deep sensitivity and love aspect of it. So this is a chance to actually take a sexual aspect from a love aspect and make it more intense, more incredible, a really deep bond, at least during this cycle, and to deepen the bond and to have a more intense sexual experience from it based on romance as well. So also there's a feeling that people are in this group are longing for real romance and to be swept off their feet, to have a deep romantic experience. Remember, you don't necessarily have to wait for the other person to do it. If you're feeling it in your heart and you want to have that experience, initiate, and don't be afraid to initiate the experience. Maybe you have the piece that the other person is, maybe they're missing it because they're worried, they're stressed, they're nervous, they're not feeling it, but there's a real chance for a sort of deeper connection here, a romantic connection. So this is a really kind of neat experience. It's sort of intention, passionate, and romantic as well. So with that, I'm going to add another piece that people never consider when it comes to romance, and that is a romantic ideal. So for you guys, I'm going to suggest, what romantic ideal would you like to bring into being in the world? And by that, I mean, think about those old, wonderful medieval romances, King Arthur, fairy tales. What romantic ideal would you like to bring into the world? Greater connections to people, greater peace of mind, greater power for yourself or for others, empowering people. There's a romantic ideal here, romance on a larger scale. What could you do during this cycle to bring romance into being in the world for people as well? Also, in terms of those of you who have a business idea that you're trying to, don't lose the romance of it. Don't lose the romance of the business and the reason that you wanted to do this to begin with. What's the romance of it? Don't miss out on the romance of it. When it becomes all about work, all about tasks, all about getting these little tasks done, and the romance of it, or the greater ideal, the idealism of it is gone, then it becomes drudgery. Okay? So that's for number 4. And those of you who picked number 5, we're going to go... all right, it's the first time I got blue. Okay, for you guys, it's a case of protection. Specifically in this case, there is a feeling of, there's a couple of different things. The theme of this one is relationships relating to protection. So in some cases it may be parent and child and doing what is necessary to protect the children. And that may be the theme of this time, that you have to actually work to protect or care for, keep safe, children or offspring in this case. Secondly, you may find in this particular cycle in a romantic relationship that it's more about needing protection or giving protection at this time, that the person needs you to give them encouraging words, encourage them, help to strengthen them and buck them up, because the circumstances are going to be very tricky during this time. So it may be they may find themselves in some very challenging situations, and they need you to be there to defend them and stand by their side. Also, in terms of relationships, this is about trusting the person that you care for and giving them the benefit of the doubt. So how can you give them during this cycle the benefit of their doubt, stand by their side, defend them, and stand up for them? So they need you to be a hero during this time, whoever it is, whether it's business or whether it's parent-child, child-parent relationship, whatever it is, friendship. Someone during this time is going to be calling on you to be the hero, and you need to be able to be strong enough to do what is necessary to defend, stand by, and help that individual through difficult times. That is all 5. That's your Libra new moon reading using Tibetan divination. If you guys would like to get a reading from me, 779-302-8009, or you can contact me at conjurehope@gmail.com for set up a reading with me. If you guys want me to do some Tibetan Kilcore work, I actually use the dice in creating a map specifically of your life and the cycles of your life right now. And what I can do is I can use, while examining the elements at work, because these all represent energies and elements, when I look at the elements at work, I then can create another situation to put in that to remove obstacles, bring things into being, make change. So it's not just a case of this is what's coming, it's a case of, hey, what are the potentials and how can we move those potentials in those ways? So if you'd like to get some Kilcore work done, then contact me and I'll tell you how we do that and what the cost is for that. And for those of you who would like to learn how to read playing cards, I have a class in how to read playing cards. I have a basic tarot class, and I have an intermediate to advanced tarot class. I have one in how to read Mexican Loteria cards. I have one on how to read the crystal ball, and I have one on how to read Lenormand Basic, and I have one on how to read the Lenormand Grand Tableau. That's also a lot of fun. And I just did a lecture for that class where I showed people how all you have to use for a Grand Tableau is mirroring and knighting to get one of the most spooky, accurate, in-depth readings you've ever gotten for someone. So there's all sorts of sneaky tricks I show in that class. Hey, and for those of you who've donated, thank you very much. I really appreciate the donations. And if you like these videos and you would like to donate to help keep them coming, please, I will put my my PayPal and my Venmo in the thing below. And this fall and winter, I will be shifting my practice and be doing Tibetan cosmology. Tibetan cosmology, people have been asking me, hey, do you do astrological charts? Well, I did for a very long time. I even had a radio show at one point where I did astrology on the radio, but after years of study and experience with it, I abandoned the science and I thought it was incomplete. Western astrology is incomplete. I will be doing Tibetan cosmology for people starting this winter, and it takes 30 days to do a chart. What is involved is everything from past life experiences, your karma, where you're headed, where you came from, spooky accurate details about what your year will be like. There are yearly predictions that go all the way to the time a person, invariably their life ends, and we can tell compatibility, where someone belongs, living wise, everything you can imagine. It is spooky accurate. I will be offering those in the winter, and I believe that the waiting list for that will be very long. So I'm really excited about that because my studies have already begun with His Holiness Padma Gampo Rinpoche on that, but they really kick in some of the things that go into cosmology I've learned over the years, but the whole subject matter I'm diving into in November. So I will be offering them shortly after. And so that's it. That's your new moon reading. Get out there and enjoy your relationships. And I hope you guys have a prosperous new moon cycle. And I will talk to you soon.